Hope ni dig bemosahan the dishes. Nemoquis, Meskwaki, Yolanda Pushataniko, and Mukumani Swan, Meskwaki Apprenticeship Program, and Miki Jayon. My name is Yolanda Pushataniko. I am from the Bear Clan of Meskwaki Nation, and I work at the Meskwaki Apprenticeship Program. Learning what I was and learning that as part of a group, I thought that was really helpful in learning more about myself. I also felt like it helped me appreciate more about who I am, and I think it gave me a way to describe my own identity, even though we go our whole lives knowing ourselves pretty well, but putting a label or a summary or a way to describe it, I thought that was really helpful. I think it just kind of put a name on it, on something that we are, and how we are and who we are and what we bring.
Strengths was brought to us by the HR department, and right away we were on board because we were interested in learning about the team and our team dynamic and how we can build upon that, build relationships, and see how each one of the teammates interacts and how their behaviors pertain to certain jobs that we do. For strengths, for our team is learning how our students react to certain situations when they're put on a job, whether it be a job or in the classroom, how they're going to react to different situations, and how us as instructors, how we can handle a student that way.
We grow by communicating better, knowing each other, how we are with our strengths, and it helps us see the difference on how to work with one another.
I went into this strengths training really excited to kind of hear a little bit about what I was going to be, and then I didn't really understand the impact that would have on the team that I have. So something that I noticed when I implemented the strengths, we made a big poster. We talked about everybody's strengths. We put them on the wall so everybody could see them. We kind of did relations so people could see what they related to and who they were related to in our department, and kind of see where, I guess, everybody's strengths fell in.
I've always tried to be a good teamwork type person, and it kind of made it easier, in my opinion, to know my team's strengths, because then I know who I can go to for certain things. So I can go to look over my paperwork, to look over my wording, to ask for new ideas, anything like that. I can go to certain people for.
Yeah, bringing Clifton Strengths into the apprenticeship program was a really good step for us. I think it helped us become more self-aware of the personalities that we have in our program. If you can think of a way to quantify a person's personality, that's what the Clifton Strengths allows you to do. And that with that data, with that information, you can pair people up into teams to get specific goals accomplished, specific projects accomplished. You have an idea what their skill set or personality set is better geared towards. So you can put them in a position to be successful right off the bat. I mean, if you can quantify somebody's personality, you can throw them in a scenario or throw them at a project that is more geared towards their higher traits, then they're more likely to be successful, and it's a really positive step for your team.
My director exposed us to it. We all took the test, and we all came together as a group and met with each other and learned our top 5. To learn my top 5 made sense at work and at home and everyday life.
The strengths training has helped me to be aware of that, to embrace it in a positive way, and to learn how to regulate it so that I can bring myself back, to the task at hand. It's that focusing the ideation. That's the big thing. That's where the key is. That's where the mastery comes in. And so it's something that I'm still working on. I look forward to continuing to do it. And as I'm mastering this in myself, then as a supervisor, I can apply this to my team and to understand them more and understand how to kind of steer them.
This particular program is that it's helped me understand our students' strengths and the fact that they are completely different students, and it's easier for us to approach each one differently rather than try to use the same tool to hammer on each one. Doesn't necessarily work. So there's differences between people, and it's good for us to see that and recognize that. That way it's easier for us to help teach out in the field.
I think it was like a really big help. And I was at a point in my life where like I needed some kind of guidance. So then to have those strengths pointed out, it helped me kind of set a parameter of what I can do and what I can't do, instead of kind of going at it and guessing, oh, I think I can do that or something like that.
Working with Traci on this program that really, it shows you your strengths mostly, not as opposed to bringing up any of your weaknesses. I think for me, having learned these things about myself, I never really applied them in my life. I think I took some of the other things that weren't so high on my list, and I was trying to make my life work using those, and it just didn't seem to go anywhere. It always seemed like it was kind of in a standstill. And before I did this program, maybe it was subconsciously, or I don't know, but I needed to do something that I could possibly fail at. Most of my life I've done things that I knew I could do and that I could accomplish, and maybe that part of failure, I think, is what I was afraid of, not with just anybody, but mostly like within myself. And I finally, like within the last 2 years, 3 years, I needed to do something that I could possibly not succeed at, and this just happened to be it. After a while, failure wasn't even in my mind anymore. I was like, I'm not gonna fail this either. It just became another thing that I applied myself to.
And weaknesses used, depending on the terminology that we're discussing, it's not truly a weakness. It's just something that it doesn't come natural to us. And so looking at our overall suitability and what comes natural is trying to move people either to work with other individuals that show natural progression and strength. Weakness isn't truly what a lot of people have used it historically. Weakness is just something that doesn't naturally come easy to us. And so this shows areas that we need to work on or pay special attention to. And so identifying what vulnerabilities we have and making them apparent so it's something that doesn't detriment our projects, our communications, or our networking with outside individuals.
This is a tool that we use here in our organization. In addition to using that, and the reason why I selected it was because a lot of our supervisors had a tendency of micromanaging their employees, telling me what was wrong with them, what they weren't doing versus what they were doing right, and some of the positive ways that we can coach an employee. So what we did is we implemented it, and first we brought along our individual strengths to number one, know who we are as a person. And then after we do our individual coaching sessions, we do team building. This will help our supervisors know what an employee is good at and how they can help them bridge some of the divides that they may have.
In my leadership capacity here at Meskwaki Nation, I believe Clifton Strengths is an important tool for our organization, and I highly recommend the program to any tribal organization. As natives, we are constantly dealing with overcoming various aspects of generational trauma. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but sometimes this trauma affects how we react to certain stimuli and situations. The assessment recognizes each person's strengths. It also can help recognize why an individual reacts a certain way to various situations. The strengths assessment, in my opinion, helps identify these areas for continued development for our team members or any team member in an organization. And this is why I like the program, because it helps build off of an individual's skill set.
In the past, when I had worked for my tribe years ago, we didn't have as much employee development or workforce development in the way that we do currently. And so taking in some of these experiences like the Clifton Strengths or wellness in the workplace, those are really helpful to give employees a sense of belonging and kind of puts importance on the employee as an individual. And I think it really gives everyone a reminder of something that they bring to the workplace. I think it tells us all that we are valuable as the individuals that we are, and that's something that it's hard to develop, individually, overall, tribal-wide, and especially hard to give that message to employees during more tumultuous times. So something like this program that we have as far as employee development and supporting our growth together as a team, I think that's been really beneficial to all of us on the individual level, which obviously it's going to really help build our team overall together.
Implementation can be kind of a scary, kind of a big task when you're talking about the size of your organization and getting that assessment to 300 plus employees or whatever the size of that is. It could be 900 employees. How do we break that down and make it happen? So first thing that you want to do is just start with one team, one department. They're going to grasp the concept of it. You're going to have your strengths champion that emerges on that team, and then it's going to move it forward with some word of mouth and just exposing other people to what is this and how does it work. But the really nice thing for people that work with employee development is that this never plateaus. It's never going to hit this stale stage. It's always growing. There's always research available. There's new ways to implement it. Every team is diverse. Every team is different. So you've got continued learning. You have never plateauing, and you have diversity within it, that each individual and team has a different set of strengths that they bring, and how can you work with those? So I'm growing every time I do a coaching session, whether it be a team session or an individual, and then that team and the organization as a whole is growing.
The reason I was excited is I really like the concept of building on people's positive traits. Working in management before, I've noticed that, it's really easy to kind of sometimes talk about the negatives and the things that people need to improve. And when you talk about the things that are really positive, it really builds people's morale too. And I really like that. And I think that kind of goes probably because I'm an includer. I like people to feel, accepted and appreciated. And that's something that I get to kind of do in the position I'm at with implementing everybody's strengths. That really makes people kind of feel as we're all in one group and see how we all fit in and relate to each other in that puzzle.